This is Petito's Gang, and today we're turning to a very important subject for our country. Elections are around the corner. Obviously, there's going to be major effort at portraying candidates one way or the other in this competition for power. Can we manage to do it in a civil manner? Can we avoid harassing opponents? Now, we've already had some conversations. We don't know who is right and who is wrong. PDP issued a statement that its candidate, Atiku Abubakar, was arriving in the country from Dubai. His plane was invaded. He was kept in an undignified manner. Don't know. Aviation authorities have responded, no, that's not true. We just did our jobs, and so on and so forth. How do we ensure that we can have civil engagement so that we can elevate the dignity of the public sphere rather than have this brutish engagement that eventually devalues our public space? What do we think? What can we be doing? What should we be doing?
What is missing, and which quite a lot of commentators on the leadership challenge in Nigeria pointed out to, is the lack of weak institutions that are on ground today. For every action, there should be consequence. And that if the institutions are in place, whoever is maltreated, irrespective of your status, you know for sure you'll get redress. Where the institutions are not there, then public agencies, private agencies can do whatever they wish, believing that they can get away with it. I think that's the challenge we have on ground, is to go back to the usual of our institutions, particularly public institutions. Are they structured in a manner that can maintain law and order and respect for the rule of law? I think that's where
but then I think first is to look at what really happened. Was it, the aviation and the government agencies said it was a routine thing. Now, what is routine about it? Alhaji Atiku Abubakar has been coming and leaving this country. Has his jet or private jet ever been invaded the way it was done? Or is it because he's a card-carrying member? Because anybody can tell you we're doing our jobs. Other Nigerians who are flying their private jets have been going out and coming back. Were they searched the same way? So you see, that is why there is the need to have an audit of the system by independent people. Not just saying, oh, what we did is in the course of our job. How many people did you bring? Did you bring people outside the airport system? Was there something you were looking for? What really happened? Because if you don't stop a particular thing, it goes back to another person. And then you have a way of stopping the opposition from developing. This is not the first time we're having elections. This is not the first time presidential candidates are flying. So what happened in this one? Or is it that it has been the system? If it has been the system, can't we correct it?
I believe what happened to Alhaji Atiku Abubakar will happen to any other person.
Yes, Rashid.
That's why I was talking about institutions.
And my brother, I want to look at it again from a slightly different angle. We talked about institutions. This whole conversation about the chicken and the egg, which comes first, institutions or people to run institutions. I mean, look, again, it comes to issues surrounding attitude. Around about the same time that this happens to Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, similar thing happened to the former vice president in the United States, Al Gore. He was asked to step aside, get into Milwaukee, and he was sacked. Routine. I begin to see situations where leaders, opinion molders, shroud everything and turn the ordinary into extraordinary and make the extraordinary look so pedestrian. If what happened to Alhaji Atiku Abubakar was such that it could have been handled a bit differently, I'm not making the point whether he was treated right or he treated a bit rough, but from the leadership perspective. And even say, oh, you want to do your job? My hands are clean. Please go ahead. And then the media folks that support him now make a statement. He will have just gone high in the ranking of the ordinary persons. Now, what happens to Alhaji Abubakar is not entirely new. In the last administration, we had a state governor that was virtually rough-handled. Rotimi Amechi was virtually rough-handled by a commissioner for police. In fact, he would have been shot. Now, in the present regime, just because of changing parties or not changing parties, we know what was visited on the Senate President, Bukola Saraki, with, hooded, they did, DSS people went there and all that kind of stuff. Now, it is happening one little time.
And you forgot Ekiti.
More than.
You forgot Ekiti and another one in
So,
Rivers.
I'm saying we don't have a perfect system. We don't have a perfect institution. We must all be alive and awake to that. But it is the response, it's the attitude of leaders, the way they react to this without necessarily, hitting the polity that I think should be. Enough lessons have been learned. I think if we could wind back the hand of the clock, if I was the media handler for Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, even given without necessarily conceding that he was roughly handled, I would have turned that around to a positive thing for him. And that is the point I am making. We should, in our country, avoid over-sensationalizing things. And if we say we are going to be leaders, we have to be servants, okay? We have to be able to lead from the rear, like Professor Tahir, late Professor Tahir has said. Let's lead a bit from the rear, show good example. The same Alhaji Atiku Abubakar has somebody that we all have a lot of respect for, Peter Obi. And people who have seen Peter Obi, the way he has demonstrated and carried himself in public space, even at airports. People will ask him to come and jump queues and he will say, oh, no, I would rather stay here. As a matter of fact, he will even find a way to call the security and immigration people, look, are you satisfied? I must subject myself to whatever rules that are available, thereby making strong statements to the public that we hear. But anytime a little bit of rough thing happens and then we make it all too political, I think we need to be a bit careful.
Okay, well, it is clear that there are perspectives on these matters. The critical thing is, how do we keep everybody of good behavior generally? Many times you have agents, you have followers who go beyond their brief. What do we need to do to get the space to recognize that the dignity of every player is critical for the legitimacy of the entire system? That if the entire system somehow gets to be seen as a neighborhood of vagabonds, it does not matter who, quote unquote, emerges from it, that person is diminished by the nature of that system. How do we educate public officials who, in their enthusiasm to show that they are more loyal to the current power that be, even though they will make an incredible U-turn the next day if the other party were to become, how do we educate them to understand that, look, just have an even hand consistently and you are okay no matter who it is that is in or out. That process.
Because anybody can get thrown up as a political leader at any point in time. All of us need to embrace best social values. If that is established in our lives, irrespective of the position or status we occupy in society, we carry ourselves with dignity. The parties, since we are moving to the political space, I think the parties have an onerous responsibility in terms of education. I'm aware PDP has a training institute, and I'm sure the other parties probably are establishing similar things. Party stalwarts, party officials, candidates need to be fully educated on what is at stake It's not a do or die affair. What is at stake, and what are the expectations of the society? Yes.
Training in civility.
Yes.
And training yourself, even if you are handling the gun. Let me take you back to what happened to Dele Udo.
I think we would like you to take us back after we've gone to visit the people. When we visit the people, we'll come back, then you can take us back, but not to the 19th century. Only to very... Okay. All right, so we go to the people who are out there to give us a perspective on these matters, and we will come back. This is Potatoes Gang.
When the government is seen that way, it will be reduced. We don't want people that are just striving to get there.
Yes, it can be civil, depending on your location. People like us here in Africa is not completely civil. It's a tug of war. In most cases, it's a do or die affair. But over there, in a civilized country that practices democracy, they have matured to the extent that it can be civil. You can have one-on-one conversation with enemies, issue-based politics. But in Nigeria, people are not more concerned about. They will attack your opponent. People will vandalize your property. They will blackmail you. But we encourage our politicians. The best way to get good governance is being civil, issue-based politics. You tell the people, the electorate, this is what I want to do for you. Concentrate on what you want to do for the people, not on blackmailing your opponent. Yes, you can be civil, and we encourage our politicians to encourage civil politics that will help this generation on board. This has been there before, but now it's getting, I don't know whether it's because of military background that our politician has, but nevertheless, it can be civil. But currently, we have not reached that maturity of civil. We are not yet playing civil politics. We're in the process of getting to civil politics.
But of course, to make that civil, citizens need to rise and take their place. Of course, we do not expect politicians to be the one that bring the balance. Politicians will always take part size, because they are partisan. But when those of us that belong to the civil society, the citizens themselves, they come in and set the rules, the ground rules for this particular competition, and as the umpires take over the field and detect the tone of the game, I'm sure it can be as much as civil. But when people sit back and just let only those that are affiliated, to one political party or the other, to be the drivers of this particular process, it cannot be civil with that kind of arrangement. So I think we need more of civic engagement to make it truly a civic affair.
So this is the pedagogy of the determined. Our teaching approach in CVL is to ask everybody who has come to learn something about leadership to ask themselves what kind of world, what kind of company, what kind of society they'd like to see, and what kind of knowledge will equip them to provide the kind of sacrificial giving of self for the good of others that will lead to the synergy that will enable them get to that destination. So this is the very base model of how we teach leadership at the CVL.
The bane of the crisis in our economy is lack of positive leadership. CVL is working assiduously to impact other stakeholders to ensure that we get the leadership question right.
Leadership affects every aspect of our lives, from our homes to our places of work to our society as a whole.
What is special about CVL Leadership Management Training? Our focus is solely on leadership and how it helps performance. Our unique selling point is based on our teaching method for 3 levels of staff in organizations.
We encourage you to register your employees for one of our training programs today.
We are back. This is Potatoes Gang, and we have heard from the field. Having heard from the people, we're ready to go back even to the Magna Carta in the 13th century. Take us there.
It won't even be the 13th century. And but we need to take this a little bit seriously, because sometimes the difference between what we are looking at might be loss of lives. I remember Dele Udo under the bridge at Boju-Elegba was accosted. He could not understand that he should have been a bit calm, knowing fully well that those who are handling the gun have either not been paid, have not been trained. He lost his life. But the classical example I wanted to bring about was a former commissioner for police in Lagos State. He eventually became the Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Abubakar. Mohammed Abubakar dressed in plain clothes and was going around the mainland around Yabadia. He was stopped by police. They didn't know he was the commissioner of police. And then, of course, they harassed him. What did he do? He remained calm because he wanted to teach a lesson. He wanted to impart some civility. He allowed them to do all they needed to do, and they got him to the police station. It was when they got to the police station that the officers in the police station said, "Oh my God," and people were running helter-skelter. Your question as to what we should do, and it should all be part of our curriculum, even from home, in schools, in churches. Yes, sometimes your rights might be trampled, but you must have a civil way of even subjecting yourself. Allow people to make a bit of a fool of themselves, and they will now be the one that will now be making all the apologies in the world. By so doing, you've done 2 or 3 things. You've taught, you've demonstrated, and you've put yourself as a responsible citizen.
It's interesting that you bring up the issue of Commissioner of Police in Lagos. I have a friend who was Deputy Commissioner of Police, I believe in Lagos. He had police guards in his home. And one night, he came out around 2 a.m. and his police guards on duty in his house were so drunk, they nearly shot him. He ran back in, and the next day, he asked that everybody should go, and he got the guard instead.
but that is the problem with the system we are operating. Now, after all these, what did they do in terms of, the same person is today, the same person you mentioned is today the IG of police.
What's
the IG? During his, retired now. Now, being within the period he was the IG, what did he do? You know, sometimes it's a question of we start thinking, is it that when we get there, there was something Ruben wrote. He said inside Aso Rock, there were so many things that confuse people that they don't become real people that they ought to be. Now,
so many angels in Aso Rock.
We are demons as friends.
So is it true that thing exists there? Or what actually happens?
This is really the problem of learning, organizational learning, getting a return on experience. The easiest and best way to learn is not going to school. It's taking every experience and getting a proper return from that experience, and then doing something from that experience to create a certain emotional climate for new knowledge to enter a system that will prevent that kind of untoward experience from happening again. But we have a way of not developing ourselves to become learners. And so this person has this experience. My friend, the deputy commissioner, Emeka solves his own problem by using Megad instead of police guards.
Instead of his people.
That's, the Abubakar case, gets there, he's overwhelmed by the problems of being IG, that perhaps he doesn't remember that retraining of every policeman in civic, know-how and know-why is central to the effectiveness. I don't know why training programs of people who deal with people in our country, we're so poor, generally. It's not just law enforcement types. Ordinary hospitality people. I like to give examples. Early days before the Mugabe miracle, 1984, I was visiting Zimbabwe. As I arrived, immigration guy looks at my Nigerian passport. He says, "Oh, welcome to Zimbabwe. We are so pleased that you're coming to spend some of that your $1 in our country. Is there anything that I can do to facilitate your having a happy time here?" Immigration fellow, I just fell in love with Zimbabwe. You fast forward, come to a Nigerian hotel. You know, Nigerians think that if they offer you service, they are somehow made little. You will see a multi-millionaire who owns a restaurant in New York. He's running around serving everybody. "Yes, sir. What can I do for you, sir? Yes, sir. Yes, sir." People he's serving don't have 1/20th his net worth. But he goes serving them, giving them wonderful service, comes down, gets in his Bentley, and drives home. Nigerian systems haven't quite developed the training for civility, making that part of the culture.
Training for civility, the attitude to civility, sometimes it becomes from cradle. You are growing up and you are seeing some little things, you are not cautious and stuff like that. It's not all bad news. And I'm going to give another example on the positive side. We have a strong man of politics in the Southwest. His name is Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I have seen on 1 or 2 occasions, and others have corroborated that back in his days in Mobile, where I came from, he will cite you, and then the security operatives will want to now then say, "Hey, just please, you just come on." And then the security operatives will now just be looking at one another. I have seen that on 1 or 2 occasions, like I've said, replicated, and people around him are now beginning to now then say, "Hey, wait a minute. Maybe this guy might be a bad person. I only just try and be on my guard. All I just need to do is, please stand still. Can we frisk you a little? And before you go to meet Oga, and we'll usher you to Oga." By the time we begin to do more and more of that, Patrick, you are a professor, and many people have seen you, not because you are on this program. I know many of your students in the Lagos Business School that I know on in CVL.
And you are one of them.
Will see you on the road, or will see you and they will want to step aside and say, "Hey, wait a minute." Why? Because you have led and you have demonstrated example. And you have not said that you have all the knowledge. No matter what knowledge every other person has, you always want to listen. So we must imbibe this. We must raise this to the next level, and we must make our politics to see that, and politicians to see that they are servants in the first place.
In the interest of civility, we have to listen to the directors who are saying to us that it's time to go. So let us be civil and say, great conversation that continues when we go off air. And you can follow on our various social media handles, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and so on and so forth. We'll come your way again next week. Try and act civil going forward.